Hello, everybody. It's me, Heath, and as you can see, James.
Hey, how's it going?
And to this month proved to be kind of busy for us, so we wanted to put something out for everybody. It won't be a full episode, but we thought it'd be a fun subject that we could talk about. Um, and it would be our favorite supervillains and a little bit of fluff here and there of things that we found. Um, I guess.
Darren didn't make it, but yeah, I guess he sounded like he wouldn't be able to add very much. So his
Yeah.
words. But
He's trying to be a positive member of society or something, actually interacting with real people. But anyways, I yeah, we were kind of hoping we could get Darren in on the next one, so should be should be fun either way. Like I said before, we're gonna be doing our favorite supervillains or like the coolest ones that we think.
yeah, for various reasons, like just there might not be the most powerful, but just
Right.
what
It's not like
cool, cool to us,
don't get mad at us if we don't pick something that you like because
right? And also, if we get a fact wrong, then please don't kill us because I don't think either of us are really like super pro or like super knowledgeable on comics, but we know enough to be dangerous. I guess you could say, right? Is that right?
that would probably be correct.
Yeah. So.
Um, some of these, you know, I don't know. Did you? Some of these heroes, they're kind of with the advent of movies, they start becoming really popular.
Right.
And so, did you pick Loki at all for any of your heroes? Because I know, like,
I didn't actually know about him until I saw him in that Avengers movie, but I never really followed Thor at all. So,
that's
I,
what I think. I mean, I don't really know a lot of people that would like, who's your favorite supervillain? Like, oh, Loki. Like they ever really thought he was
nowadays might say that, but
right. And so,
into the
uh,
movie, yeah,
but it's kind of funny how, just a different media, and something gets so popular that it just kind of spins off into its own little thing or something. But
yeah,
so that was one that, when I was thinking about it, I'm sure a lot of people would be like, "Oh, Loki's so cool," but it's like in my
yeah,
mind, he's really
yeah,
not that cool. but
yeah.
um, but I guess if we should get this started,
Sure.
I'll bring up the first one, and it might transition. Well, let's see here.
Yeah,
Because I know you and I have some cross reference with some of our heroes,
okay.
um, and it's not like you chose the same thing I did. It's
Right.
our
We
our
independent.
villains. Yeah, our villains are related. Is kind of like
Oh,
is how I would think of it. So, um, I'll do my first one, which is um,
visual delay on this end, so
and it's Carnage. Is
okay.
who I picked.
I see what you mean.
And so Carnage is from Spider-Man. He's basically a symbiote, kind of like Venom is. And the person who is originally bonded to the Carnage symbiote is Cletus Cassidy. And a fun little fact about it is they originally were planning on killing off Venom in the
Right.
in the Spider-Man book, but he got really popular, so they're like, "Oh, great! Now we can't kill him off." And so, so what happened is they basically said, "Well, we want to make a really evil version of Venom," and so that's kind of how it all came about with this new symbiote called Carnage. So, um, it's kind of funny. The designer who made Cletus Cassidy, the psychopath who is in the Carnage symbiote, they tried to make him look like Joker. So if you can imagine that, yeah, they took a lot of elements like the longer face and like the weird hair, kind of going like
Yeah,
I
'cause
don't know.
he's always got that like jaw that's hanging out, but yeah, like Joker's got that like long, well connected jaw, but they kind of have that both like long, elongated face, kind of creepy mouth, like large mouth compared to a normal character or person, I guess would have it.
Right.
Right.
Um, some of his powers, I guess, um, he basically these symbiotes are like an alien race, and since it bonded with Spider-Man first, if you remember right, the Venom symbiote
Yep.
bonded with Spider-Man, so it kind of took some of the powers that he had, and so it kind of had him infused in the symbiote, and that's why Venom is so similar to Spider-Man in the sense of like
Looks and
wall crawling and all that kind of stuff.
yep.
And the same thing happened where Carnage took it over, so he can run on walls. He has a spider sense of his own because the symbiote is aware all the way around it, so it knows if something's coming behind it, it can react.
Mhm.
And so it's kind of cool. It kind of took powers from Spider-Man, and it also took power from Venom. So
Yep.
basically, Carnage is stronger than both Venom and Spider-Man combined. So if you can imagine, like Venom is
But
pretty,
yeah,
pretty
best of both of them. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, it's basically the best of both of them. He also can shift his. Well, Venom can do this too, but Carnage can basically morph his body into really sharp blades. And since he's a psychopath and he was a killer in his former life, he uses it basically to murder people. Uh, so I just thought when I saw it, the first time I saw him was on the Spider-Man animated show.
Was he on that? Okay, I was
Yep.
kind of. Okay.
Yep, he was on
Okay.
it. He was in. It was kind of the same thing with Venom. Venom. When you saw him, you were like, "Whoa!" Like that's so awesome. Like, but I just kind of got a cooler factor, even though at the time I didn't know that he was like a murderer, or anything like that, because they obviously don't show that in the animated show.
That's why I
But
was surprised that he was actually in it because of all that history he usually has with the murdering and a lot of scenes they would have him in the comic books. He'd be covering sorry, there'd be like dead bodies all over the place, and he'd be, he was the guy that did it all. So just kind of surprised to hear that he was in it. But he is one of the key namesake characters or whatever you want to say that staples of Spider-Man villains. Like
yeah,
a lot of people know about him, so they probably had to include him in the show.
right. He was just. I think the coolness factor. He's on the level of Venom, probably. Like, I don't think there's any more people that like Carnage more than they like Venom, but it's they're two pretty cool elements of the same kind of thing. It's actually a offspring of Venom. If you didn't know that, the the Carnage symbiote. So
Yeah, I
um,
don't know the basics of it, but yeah, it's like some kind of offshoot that like somehow I don't know how he originated, but yeah, it's like something that came off of the Venom symbiote and made him, I guess, right?
yeah, it's like these symbiotes are kind of like living things themselves. So they have, I don't know if it'd be children per se or whatever, but basically it even gets even further into it. Like there's a symbiote that comes out of Venom called Anti-Venom, and like it just gets crazier and crazier as you go down the line with them and stuff. So, um, but I do know one other thing Carnage has, that he can actually regenerate
Okay.
body parts and things. So they originally, I think, were going to kill off Carnage, and so how they did that was they had this galactic entity called the Sentry, and it basically came down and grabbed Carnage and took him into the upper atmosphere, like into space, and it ripped him in half, basically, just like, and then um, the symbiote survived apparently, and it came back down to Earth, and it regenerated his body, and like it brought him back, and it was
They always remind me. It might not be this way, but they always reminded me of like the Terminator movie, the second one, where the like guy can turn into that mercury liquid thing and like reform. It's kind of like that, isn't it? Like
yeah.
you can rip him apart, but he's just gonna like reform, and I don't know.
It's almost like a liquid that surrounds them or something. But yeah, so that's Carnage for you. Pretty sweet. I guess you got one that you want to talk about?
You want to go with the one next to him, like Venom, basically?
You gonna talk about Venom? Okay.
Yeah, we might as
So
well since they're covering. So I don't know. I picked Venom because not so much because I'm like a huge fan of him or I saw him in a movie or something. It's mostly just because out of all of the Spider-Man villains that I know, I always thought he was the coolest looking. So it's kind of like on the same lines of Carnage, where they both look very similar. But for some reason, I just kind of like the look of Venom better. he's got it's the same kind of deal. He's like a symbiote, like thing from space came by and landed on Spider-Man and basically wrapped him up, and it gave him better powers, better abilities, and he could like what else? He could like shapeshift and change things with his hands, and I think he even got stronger and whatnot. But it was just like basically, I just found it cool because the looks, like I said, but also it's just like it's kind of a unique for the time. It's like a unique villain. It's not like a mutant or a alien who has powers. Sorry, like alien, like Superman, that has powers where they're humanoid. This thing like has a relationship where it's like like a bacteria or a virus that encompasses something and changes it. And I think that's pretty unique. It's like a unique style of villain where it's not just a typical, one person that has this ability or whatever. So that's one other reason I just really thought it was cool. I got some real basic information. Like basically Venom showed up in the Amazing Spider-Man number 252, and that was May 1984. So he's like, relatively new, but still kind of a classic. He's right in the middle there. And that he actually didn't really. He's well known for well known for the time he's I don't know what the right word would be, but like connected to, I guess, or wrapped around Eddie Brock, and that was April 1988 in the Amazing Spider-Man 299, and that same story is in the animated series. It's replayed in many things. Venom pretty much shows up in a number of video games and other various things, and I just always thought he was just really cool looking. And so I don't know, I think I picked him over Carnage because he kind of goes between good and bad. He's not always bad.
An anti-hero?
Yeah, like Carnage just is a villain. Like he's all around bad, and then Venom, he is bad most of the time, but there's points where he helps out Spider-Man or works with him. And I don't know, I just thought he was cool. The tongue thing was really cool. Like he always has that, like in the drawings, like how Carnage always has the loose jaw that's hanging there and the tentacles coming out of his back. Well, Venom always has like this long tongue and like sharp teeth, and it always just looked really cool, I thought. I guess lastly, his powers, he has shape-shifting, spikes, he can mimic others' appearances, and then his weaknesses are, I guess, fire and loud sonic noises. And he was in that Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire, the third one. And what'd you think of that movie? No, have we talked about that before?
It's not Tobey Maguire, is it? It's Tobey.
I say no, not Venom itself, but who's Spider-Man? Isn't that his name? The actor name?
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought you were talking about who's the other guy? The actual guy that plays Venom, though.
No. That '70s guy. What's his name? He's got a unique name too. But Topher Grace. Yeah. So I didn't really like that portrayal too much. I mean, he didn't really do a bad job, but it just seemed weird to me. I guess maybe it's because I'm used to seeing him as like a, like the pushed around kid that's like kind of nerdly and from that '70s show, and then like seeing him as a villain, like I couldn't really take it very seriously, I guess. But
the main thing that I took offense to that was Venom should have his own movie. Like he's that like crazy. Like he was only there for like half, like even less than half the movie, and then he killed it right away. So it was like, really? Like, come on.
Yeah, what I understand is, and I heard it from a friend, so I don't know how true it is, but like Sam Raimi, is that the guy that directed it? I think he doesn't like Venom, and so therefore he was like forced to put him in the movie, and so he just kind of did it. So and like it sounded like he'd rather have had somebody else, maybe Sandman, as the main villain, and so that's maybe why they didn't give him as much screen time as a lot of fans wanted. But I don't know. It's just I don't really have much else to say about it. I'm not a huge Spider-Man reader. I don't know a ton, but I always thought Venom was really cool, so I put him down as one of my top guys. Sure. That's all I have to say about him, I guess.
I do have one little caveat that I know for Venom with the Spider-Man series. In the comic books, what happens is there's like this galactic being that wants to figure out who's stronger on Earth. So he basically pits bad guys against good guys.
Okay.
And while there, Spider-Man is fighting, and he goes into a lab, and that's where he finds the Venom symbiote, because it's actually there being trapped from these people that were studying it, and so he's the one that releases it, and that's how he gets it, as opposed to the other, other ways that they show in the cartoon series and everything else, where it's like on the
Cartoon, yeah, just from like the crash shuttle or something, if I recall that episode.
But I like either or. It seems good to me. Like I'm fine with either. So.
Well, what do you have next?
All right. So my next one is Deathstroke, and it's funny because this villain actually coincides with another one of my villain picks. Well, I'll just explain that when it comes up. But let me go ahead and show you Deathstroke. I'm sure a lot of people know who it is, but he's basically from the Batman and Teen Titans series. So let me see here, right here. Okay. So, and so Deathstroke, the Terminator, originated in 1980, and it was 4 years, I think, before the Terminator actually even came out. So they actually named the Terminator first, but they chose to give it up for the James Cameron Terminator movie. So I thought it was pretty cool of them to do. But it's basically, this guy's name is Slade Wilson, and he's basically the opposite of Batman. He is a master of almost all martial arts. He studied guerrilla tactics. He basically was part of a secret experiment where when he was in the army, he was such a good military strategist and performer that they signed him up for this secret experiment that basically enhanced his physical powers and unlocked his mental capabilities to be 90% of. He can use 90% of his brain basically. So he's like, he can strategize with the best of them. So if you see his character design, you'll notice that he only has one eye and the other eye's blacked over. And what happened with that is in the DC universe, basically there was a team that went to fight him and take him down, and that included the Elongated Man, Flash, Zatanna, who's like a powerful magician, Hawkman, the Green Arrow, Black Canary, and Green Lantern.
Took them all?
All of them went to take him down, and he was beating all of them, and that's when Green Arrow took a shot and hit him in his right eye, I think it was.
Yeah, that'd be right. Yeah.
Right eye.
I see.
And after he shot him in the eye, he basically went crazy, and he was like gonna beat Green Arrow to death. And as he was doing that, all the other heroes swarmed him and were able to take him down. And so that's why he basically has the eye patch, or not an eye patch, but one eye isn't covered. And so they were taking him away basically, and there was some being that helped him escape. And just to prove how badass he was, he went to Green Arrow's hideout, and he took the arrow that he shot him in the eye with, and he took it out and he put it on the wall, and he wrote a note that said, "This belongs to you. This isn't over."
Nice.
So he's just like crazy badass. The main storyline that he's involved with is Teen Titans, and they even and this is comic book Teen Titans, even though he actually is involved in the Teen Titans animated show.
Is he the villain?
Yeah.
Okay, he is.
They call him Slade.
Yeah, I was gonna say he didn't have that name, but I swear he looked like him. So okay.
And his name is actually Slade Wilson, so that's how they tied it together. And the only reason they don't call him Deathstroke in Teen Titans, the animated show, is because they thought that the teenage crowd would be too like, oh, it's Deathstroke or something. It's like it was too powerful for them or something like that, like using death in the name.
And they also took out the nunchucks.
Mm-hmm.
British. Yeah, no, he's pretty cool. He reminds me. So wait, well, I guess before I get going here, would you know what army trained him, or how that was? It like a private thing, or maybe
it was the United States Army,
It was okay.
and he got trained in guerrilla warfare while in Korea. So he was in the Korean War. So
Oh, okay. It's always so funny when they like put references like that in because then it's like time keeps going, but your character's still alive, so it's always kind of funny.
and
Anyway,
and with all these heroes, they update almost all of them for like new origins and things like that. So that way they're not like 80 years old,
right.
and like
He fought in the Civil War, and no, that's cool. He always reminds me of like the anti Captain America, I guess. But you said he was trained by America, but I guess he's a bad guy now, so it doesn't matter. But it always reminds me of like Captain America because they're both like super soldiers in a sense. He's a little more universal soldier, kind of, like the movie in a way. But I don't know. He's pretty cool. I don't really know much about him, I guess, though, like other than what you said. I've seen him in lots of things, but I just never, I didn't even know he was DC. I guess it makes sense now, speaking of Teen Titans, but never thought about it.
Yeah. One other note is he actually has healing abilities, but it's nothing like Wolverine style.
Mhm.
Well, he can heal a crushed bone or body, thing fast. But if you chop off his arm, his arm's gonna be gone. Like, and that's why he still has the eye that's missing because of Green Arrow shooting him. I
Yeah,
think
that makes sense.
yeah, I think it's cool to have a scarred hero like that. But
Yeah.
I got a movie if you want to watch it.
Okay,
All right, so we can check this out.
sweet.
Peggy 16.
And I'm going to be delayed here, so.
Drop it there, fellas.
What's this from?
Check the breaker.
Batman Arkham Origins.
Okay. Ow.
Looks like you got my invitation. Just you and me. Come on!
That guy shot his gun down the hole right after his friend got pulled down, so he would have probably shot his friend. Kind of ridiculous, but pretty cool.
Not so fast, Deathstroke. He's my kill.
Pretty cool. He's that was a pretty cool fight. Since we're on DC, let's just do the Joker then. Yeah, let's do that one. So I don't know. I guess Joker's pretty much well known to everybody else. I mean, that knows Batman, they know Joker, right? So it's one of the characters that I always thought was really kind of interesting because on the face of it, it sounds like a really stupid character. It's like he's a clown, you know.
Right.
And I think what really got me to like this character the most was the first Timothy Burton movie. As a kid, I don't know how old I was at that time, but not too old, probably around 10ish or so. And I always just thought he was very like a very scary kind of character because you just didn't really. There was like no method to it. He's just like insane, and so there's like no way to like understand him or reason with him. There's no. It's just like he's gonna do what he wants. It's just like nothing is gonna convince him otherwise, and I think just like that aspect of it just makes him. Just the insaneness of him makes him like kind of a cool character because. I don't know. He's just like the way he'll kill people is really sadistic and crazy, and the way they have this like relationship that they've always talked up in the movies and in the show of like Joker needs Batman and Batman needs Joker, that kind of thing. It's just kind of neat in my and out of my choices, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I picked him. He was in the original Batman #1. Which was like spring 1940, so he's pretty old character by now, and his character has developed over time. He wasn't like this dark as he is in some of these later, especially the 80s comics. But they plan to kill him off, I guess, early, just like we mentioned Venom, and an editor basically kept him in the storyline, and I think the reasoning was that some of the initial writers were against that was because they felt that Batman would look like kind of like a weak or basically incompetent because he couldn't defeat this guy, and they didn't like the idea of having him come back and come back and come back. So it's just like kind of interesting little note there. But I don't know. I mean, there's so many variations of the Joker, and I think I'm kind of on the end of I like the darker version, probably like a lot of people. Heath Ledger's version is amazing. I thought that's probably pretty much perfect, like how I envision him or how I like the character. I'm not really a big fan of it makes sense to do this for the animated show, but I was never really a big fan of that one. He's just too comical, but you know, for kids that makes sense. You don't want to have something too scary, but I don't know. They just had so many variations of him. It's just like they rework him and stuff. But he's always had this. He's always been pretty much the same theme of like he'll kill a guy, and like he used those. The Timothy Burton movie I mentioned earlier has pretty close parallels to the original design. A lot of that stuff is in there, or at least things that they've explained his storyline as it goes on. I should say, like his initial history of how he turned into the Joker. He fell in a vat of acid. I can't remember his name, but he had the same name as in the show. Sorry, in the movie as his character name, and he used the gas to make people die smiling. He actually did that in the comics and stuff. So it's just kind of they did a pretty good job, I think, in that, as far as I know. And so I just thought. I guess, like we mentioned earlier, the movies, I guess, just all the different medias and things that can inspire you to like a character or not. But that's pretty much why I think I chose the Joker. It's not because I read those old comic books. It's actually just because I thought the idea of this insane killer, I just thought it was made for a good villain.
Crazy just for crazy's sake.
Right. And he reminds me a lot of Kefka from Final Fantasy VI. So that also, I'm not sure which one I probably knew about the Joker first, I guess, but they're basically like very similar characters. That
What,
being,
isn't in the original Tim Burton movie? Isn't the guy's name Jack?
oh, so maybe it is different. I don't know. Yeah,
I think it's Jack. I don't know.
right. Actually, that does sound right. So I take that back. Maybe the name wasn't the same, but yeah, it was something like God, how did it work? He had got his girlfriend or wife pregnant, and then he was trying to do jobs, criminal jobs to get money for her, and then he fell in that thing, and then she left him or something after that, and so he went insane. It was, I think, the story, if I recall correctly. At least they're one of the earliest origin stories. I think there's been a few, so I'm not sure what the real one is, or maybe they try to play it off as there isn't a real one, but that's the one that a lot of people have heard, I believe. Again, I feel hesitant saying some of this stuff because I'm not 100% sure if it's right, but I I think it's right. So anyway, that's Joker. I don't know. He's kind of one of those like easily picked. You could see, any kind of website's top 10 list, they're always going to put the Joker on there, but
Sure. The Mark Hamill version. You like that one? Was that one?
well, I liked him, and I think the voice is fine. I think it's perfect, actually. I don't think it's annoying or anything. It like fits the like crazy guy voice. But I've got the two portrayals of him. Like, you got the animated one, which I don't like that much, but it's for kids, like I said, so it's not a big deal. Then they have the one in like the video games. Primarily the one I'm thinking of is the Arkham City, because that's the one I played. And he seemed fine in that. It's hard to, I don't know. It was like a special role for him in that because he was sick or whatever, so he didn't really do a lot of the normal stuff. So, but yeah, it seemed fine. I think he's done, if I recall correctly, Mark Hamill. I don't think he's doing Joker anymore.
Yep. That's why in that trailer we watched, Arkham Origins, that's why there was no Joker in there. I think they're not having him do the voice anymore. So.
He's too busy with Star Wars.
Yeah. With Harrison Ford breaking ankles.
Yep.
Or did you hear? This is a side caveat of something, but he actually broke his whole leg, they said now, and it's going to delay the Star Wars movie by like 8 months.
What? No. Oh well. That sucks.
Yeah.
They could just like write it into the story. Pop it up.
A tauntaun fell on me. He got revenge. But
yeah. That sucks.
Yeah. Sorry to ruin your day. So, if that's all for Joker, my next one is going to be kind of brief, but it's got to be on the list. Let me see here, and it is the Shredder from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And so, basically, Shredder showed up in the original comics, and his original name was supposed to be the Greater, or Great Man, because of the things on his armor made it look like he was like cheese grater or something. And so they eventually settled on Shredder.
I guess that makes sense. Okay, because like it was kind of a comical. There was a lot of comical stuff in it at the beginning. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
For the comic book?
Yeah, like like the origin of the Turtles is a play off of
Daredevil.
Daredevil, yeah. And I mean, there was like violence and stuff, but there was jokes here and there. I don't know. So it kind of makes sense that they thought about it like that. So.
And so the comic book Shredder and the movie Shredder are actually sort of similar. Like, they do have the rooftop fight and those kind of things. It's kind of weird. They actually kill Shredder in the comic book, and they use like this weird foot magic ninjutsu thing to the worms that were eating him actually reconstituted him, and he brought him back to life through ninja magic or something. So he actually shows up again.
Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I know I never read those specific comics. I read some of them, but I didn't read the ones with Shredder, and so I have no idea how they portrayed him. But I'm told that he was like super villainous and way eviler, like dangerous, not eviler, dangerous, more than like the cartoons and things. Just the newer cartoon has him as a like strong enemy. He's not a bumbling fool. So that's kind of cool.
Right. And so basically, I'm sure a lot of people know it's Oroku Saki, and he's the leader of the Foot Clan in New York. He was a younger brother of Oroku Nagi, who, and this is I think the comic book version of the story, not
Right.
not the movie. And so basically, his brother was basically killed by Hamato Yoshi, who was Splinter's mentor, or no, the Turtles' mentor. Sorry, and
He
then
was Splinter's master. Splinter was a rat in
oh
the
right, yeah,
or I mean the
right,
comic.
that's what I meant. And then basically there was the feud over the woman after that, and so it was all kind of like a weird vengeance thing for his brother and then the woman and all that kind of stuff. But the first time I was exposed to Shredder actually was cartoon, and so the first that I know of him was the bumbling fool. Like,
Yeah.
and I wanted to talk about Krang instead, but like Shredder's more important, I think, in that story. But I think of Krang alongside Shredder. So,
Yeah.
so-
Yeah. I mean, as the comics go on, or sorry, the cartoon goes on, he turns into the bumbling fool. So he's not so bad in the like first season and a half
right.
of the show, and that's really where like the good episodes are anyway. So it's kind of stinks that they did that to the character, but like the movie, the Turtles movie, the original one, plays the Shredder very closely to the comics, and they kind of merge some of the like the brother and him together into kind of one character. And Tang Shen, I think, is the wife's name of Splinter's master, which you just said it, Homotoyashi, or whatever it is. And they like basically they just like I don't understand why they did it. They merged the characters all around and made it kind of confusing, because it's like makes mutagen really confusing on how it works. It's like sometimes a human turns into the animal they last touched. Sometimes it's like whatever you last touch. Well, it doesn't always hold water. It just doesn't make sense sometimes, because it's like, well, he just touched that thing, so why doesn't he turn into that or whatever? It's weird. But in the comics, I always thought it made a lot of sense, because it's like it's just a growth formula. Like it makes you stronger and humanoid, and so therefore you're a rat, you grow into a humanoid rat. You're a turtle, you grow into a humanoid turtle. And so that's an aside, I suppose, because it's not really much about Shredder, but it's just like all these weird inconsistencies between the two media. But yeah, I don't know. Shredder's really always pretty cool. It's like I like the idea of like this old school style ninjas like running around in New York, and he's like just like like a crime lord, basically just a gangster, but it's like a Japanese gang, and they're just ninjas that are cool to begin with. So it just made him very like a ultimate enemy for the Turtles, because he's just like the counterpart of what they do. He's like the evil version of it. So I always thought Shredder was also very cool. And yeah, I always think of Krang too at the same, but I don't know, they're different. I curious what after they killed Shredder, it's like in the comics, it's like I wonder what they did after that. I don't really know. I know there's some other like ninja clan that they fight a lot. I don't remember their names, but it's kind of like he's kind of a pinnacle character, like a top level character. When you wipe him out, it's like he's gone, and then it's kind of would be, I would imagine, hard to take his place.
They revive him twice. So like the first time they use the worms, and the second time they use ninjutsu magic or something. But the other thing that I wanted to bring up, yeah, it's weird what they do. But anyways, in one of the versions of the new Turtles, Shredder is a woman. It's like there's a alien version or something that comes down, and it's in a suit, and it's basically her adopted father, and so Shredder becomes a woman after that. So she puts on the armor, and it's a female Shredder in the
Show for sure.
It's not the CGI one. It's
Right. The middle one that was between, maybe?
yeah, it was animated. So
Okay, I never watched there's 3 seasons of Cartoon Turtles, or for kids or whatever you want to call it, but I never watched the middle one very much. Saw just a couple episodes, so maybe it happened in that one. There was some kind of female character that you reminded me of in the original series, like season 9 or whatever. I haven't really got into those because they're just kind of, they're not very good. But my kid watches them every once in a while, so I catch it. And I think there's a female ninja, evil ninja lady, but it's not Shredder turned into a woman or anything. So I don't know. But
yeah, I just wanted to mention that there's
That's
a
a good-
female incarnation.
it's comic book. I didn't even think about it. So good pick.
All right, so
We'll just get into my X-Men stuff, I suppose. So let's just do Apocalypse. So Apocalypse is like, I picked him just because he's pretty cool. I really don't have any other reasoning. Like, his character is okay. It's kind of like, most people just don't even know anything about him. He's just this super strong enemy, and that's what makes him cool. He's got like pretty much every power under the earth. He's like the Superman of villains in a sense.
he's the oldest mutant,
Right.
isn't he? He's like
Probably. He's from like 3000 BC or something. And he's an Egyptian. He was born with gray skin, and he basically like was abandoned and then raised by marauders, and they trained him. And I don't know. I mean, the idea, like I said, his story, it's kind of weird. He's got one of his main powers, I should say, is he's like basically age immortal. So he goes from 3000 BC all the way up to future comic books, time eras. So along that whole path, he's had he's done things. And so some of the main things he's done is like he gets civilizations to worship him and treat him as a god, and then he has them do stuff for him. And he's also like had various children, I think they're his kids, and he's like used them to help fight his battles and do his things. And I don't even know honestly what his final goal is, like what the end all is, but I think he's pretty much just wants to destroy stuff, or just be ruler of everything, one of those kind of guys, typical villain. But he first showed up in X Factor number 5, which was 1986, June. And so he's pretty modern as far as like comic book villains go. And he was in the animated show, and he's just like I said, super powerful. He's just gone through time, and he's showed up in various comic books, like in the Marvel universe, not just like X Factor or just X-Men. He's got some. So like he started out as just this like superpowered mutant Egyptian guy back in the day, but then later he gets a hold of some alien technology, so it even enhances him more. And so that's why sometimes you see him as like a regular humanoid looking guy. Sometimes you see him as like half cyborg. Most of the time you see him as like this robotic looking dude. And so like that, I think most practically all these pictures we have up here are of the one where he has the alien technology. And so he's got all that. So basically, like, I don't know, it usually takes like a bunch of the heroes to defeat him. His weakness is that he's got this virus thing in him. So like the virus itself made him even more powerful. So he's got that also going for him. But it also has this draining factor to him, like that it requires him to jump bodies. Like he basically takes over a body, and when it decays enough, he jumps to the next one. And he also has to like go dormant and I don't know, regenerate or sleep it off. I don't really know how it works, but so that's basically his weakness is like I suppose you could like get him when he's regenerating or in slumber, and that would be the only way you could really destroy him, because otherwise he's just got like regeneration, and he can absorb absorb energies that get shot at him, and all the various other things. He's super strong and all this other crazy stuff. So I didn't really pick him for story or anything like that, like some of these other characters, like the Joker I had mentioned, and some future ones I'm going to mention. But primarily, he's just a badass, like he's just strong and powerful and dooming. I guess that's why they call him Apocalypse. But
He can grow too, can he? Like,
Yep, he can change size, and like I said, he pretty much has every power. It's kind of ridiculous. um, he's one of the strongest Marvel villains for sure.
he's I think he's classified in the same realm as the Marvel Universe here, um, heroes villains. So on a cosmic level, he's like that powerful, I think. So
But like I said, don't really have much else to say. I just thought he was cool because he's just so powerful, and I do kind of like. Sometimes I make fun of. I don't make fun of him, but I think Superman is kind of a lame hero because he's pretty much got all these powers and is unstoppable except for one small weakness, I guess. But at least he has something. But it's kind of the opposite of that, so it's kind of hypocritical of me because I'm always like, Superman's kind of dumb because he's so powerful and nothing can hurt him, and then here's a guy that's basically the same thing on the other end of the scale. So I don't know, but that's Apocalypse, I guess.
true. One thing, I think the first time I ever saw him was in the X-Men animated series. Is that where you were first exposed to him, or?
Well, it's hard to say because I feel like I knew about him before then, but yeah, for sure that I think is he in maybe the X-Men arcade game? Otherwise, I don't know, maybe a comic book. I kind of was loosely exposed to a bunch of comics because they had a bunch lying around at our video game rental store when I grew up, so I'd like to look through those every once in a while, but it was probably the animated show. If I had to put money down, I would bet on that. But
Because I always remember in the animated show he had a very hello, like Bane, kind of like a we have to get
lips.
them. Yeah.
right, yeah, he's a weird looking dude.
Yeah, his jaw thing always throws me off. As a kind of fun transition, my next villain that I chose has very similar character design to Apocalypse. So
Yeah.
I actually chose Thanos,
Okay.
and so
So you're better about picking these ones that are not like really well Thanos, but I mean, like I'm picking like these main ones because I was trying to pick ones that were not like the main well-known ones, but I just could not. So
well, there's a big push on Thanos now because of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and he was at the end of the Avengers movies. So how I was first exposed to Thanos was actually from one of my highest picks, and I'll just say it. One of my highest picks is Deadpool. But anyways, I was exposed to Thanos through that because he is on just like Apocalypse. He might be even stronger than Apocalypse. I don't know. There's a meter thing that you can go to on Marvel's site that'll say how powerful they are and stuff.
should I go check it out?
Yeah. Good. But basically, so just to give you the backstory about how they're tied in, Thanos was kind of he's an alien, first of all, and he was born on Saturn's moon of Titan, and so it was kind of a sad story because he was different from a lot of the race that was down there. They say that his race was like a cousin race of like the main race that was down on Titan, and so because of that he got like made fun of and nobody wanted to be his friend, and his mother actually tried to kill him when he was born because she wouldn't have a child that was different. When he was young he was a pacifist. He his only friends were his brother and his pets, and that was like his only friends. So it's kind of like this, like
Sad.
sad kid kind of a thing. So what happened was, because he was isolated, he started becoming obsessed with nihilism and death, and he started worshiping death, and so death actually appeared to him in a physical embodiment. And so death is actually a mutant in the Marvel universe, where it's like this omnipresent being and it can manifest itself. And one of the physical embodiments of it is this woman. And so he started becoming obsessed with this woman and like loving death. And so what he did was he basically because death wants people to die. She to get her attention so that he could get her love, he killed his whole family. He got powerful and he killed almost everybody on Titan, like all of the whole race of people that were on Titan. He killed all of them, and only a few escaped. If you've seen Guardians of the Galaxy, the trailer, there's a big beefy guy that has like these red kind of runes in his skin and stuff like that. That was the cousin race of what Thanos is. He was one of the only ones that escaped. Thanos killed that guy's wife and daughter, I think.
The guy that they showed as the guy who escaped.
Right.
Oh,
And so, and then also in Guardians of the Galaxy, the green girl, that if you've seen the trailer, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's actually Thanos' daughter.
Oh, really?
So he has had illicit affairs with different beings from around the universe. But all that aside, that's how he ties into Deadpool, because Deadpool, he can regenerate from a small cell. So like if you blow Deadpool apart, if there's a cell of him that's left, he can regenerate his whole body from that cell. So that's why Death pays attention to Deadpool, because he can't get killed.
Mm-hmm.
And so Death actually likes Deadpool instead of Thanos. And so that's how I got exposed to Thanos.
Okay.
And so, but basically, you'll see the gauntlet that he has. And this might be a giveaway to what's going to happen in the movies. So, sorry, spoiler. But if you just look up anything with Thanos, you'll be able to see it. So, what that is actually that's the Infinity Gauntlet, and basically, in there you'll notice three. Well, it doesn't have in one of those pictures. It doesn't have the different colored gems, but there's 5 different gems in there, and those gems are what make him one of the most powerful beings in the universe, or in the galaxy, I guess. There's a green one, which is the Soul Gem. The orange one is the Time Gem. Purple is the Space Gem. Blue is the Mind Gem. Yellow, Reality. Red, Power.
Okay.
And so those different gems actually correspond with some of the items that were found in the Marvel movies that have been out. So in the Avengers, there was that cube, the Tesseract.
Oh, wow. They're going to tie it all together, huh?
The Tesseract is the orange. In Thor, the Dark... I don't remember what it was called, but the one with the Dark Elves, there's a black kind of substance in there that is actually one of the gems that gets made, and I think that was the purple. I think that was the purple gem. And so, not to give it away, but it sounds like they're going to be bringing Thanos in with his Infinity Gauntlet and stuff. So,
Cool.
It should be pretty cool. And so, basically, because of that gauntlet, he's able to control any realm of those gems. So, in the soul, time, space, mind, reality, all those are the powers in that gauntlet. So, yeah, and he's one of my favorites just because it's the opposite of Deadpool's relationship with death. So, I don't know. That's how I found him. So.
I found a random website, and it looks like, well, I mean, it's okay. I'm going to say that a lot of the information I got was from a pretty decent site called comicvine.com, and they got every character, and you can link around. It's like a Wikipedia for for all comic book stuff. So anyway, some random dude on there made a website, or made a list of the top heroes and villains. So according to this guy, you are correct. Thanos is number 5 on the entire list, and it goes up to the hundreds. And he's even above Death, supposedly.
Yeah, because of the gems in his gauntlet.
It does. It says with Infinity Gauntlet as a caveat. Death is 14, and then Apocalypse is like 70 something. So, but it is heroes and villains. So anyway, thought I'd let you know that.
Cool.
I don't even know who the number one guy here is. One above all, whoever that is. Never seen him. Anyway, so
It's a lot of the highest here. It's kind of dumb because it makes it like, how can you ever be powerful in that? It's like these super mutants basically that were there before time was time. Like they're
well,
even
deities and stuff and gods. And
yeah, like they're like, if you remember Phoenix or Dark Phoenix,
Yeah.
Jean Grey turns into her. They're more powerful than her, and she's like insanely powerful. So it's just like
That's 13 on this list. The Phoenix Force. Yep. So he's way up there.
anyways, that's my next one, Thanos. So
Sure. Let's go to this one. Will be quick. So I'll just. Did you get some stuff for Onslaught?
yep.
Okay. So this one I put on here for personal reasons. Well, I guess this is my own list, but it's very unique for me, and I picked him because this is a villain that isn't well known. I discovered him by purchasing some like comic book when I was like in 6th grade, like I think it was an X-Men one, and I just like got it because I was traveling with my parents and family on some vacation, and I wanted something to read, and we were just happened to be in a grocery store or something like that. So anyway, he's a Marvel character, and he first appeared in May 1996, and I actually did not write down which I think it was X-Man, not men but man. I don't know which number. Anyway, he's a mixture of Magneto and Professor X, like their actual physical and mental abilities mixed into one.
Really?
And, why I picked him is because, and you can see just looking at him, he looks a lot like Magneto. And I picked him because this was the first comic that I ever had that had like crossover stuff going on. And I mean, as a kid, I didn't really realize that these universes were all kind of the Marvel universe had all these comic books, and I didn't realize those comic books were all combined, and they could interact with each other and stuff. And so when I got this comic, it was like awesome because I had the Avengers in it, and I was like, oh, I remember those guys from that video game, like that one we did with the Gamecast a while back, that arcade game. Right. And then I was always a big fan of the X-Men, and they were in it, and it had Thor, and it had, I don't know, just various other people that like I guess Cable's an X-Men, but like people from the future coming in, and it had the Hulk in it, and it's just like all these. I was like, this is amazing and awesome, and so I bought a whole bunch more comic books. I actually back ordered some, and for some reason I got a really big deal on it because I remember not spending too much money, like $30, and I got like 50 comics or something crazy like that. No, that's probably too many, but probably $1 a piece or something like that, and just like got all these issues leading up to him and then going on and how he was defeated and stuff. And it's just like, the story is really convoluted and weird, and I don't think I could repeat it back to you very well, but it's basically just the first time I ever discovered and read like crossovers, and I just thought it was really cool, have you even heard of this guy?
Nope.
Yeah, that's what I said. So he's not very famous, but he kind of led to it. And he's basically, again, a combination of Magneto and Professor X. So he's got super mental abilities, super physical abilities, and it took like a whole bunch of people to defeat him. And he also absorbed, I think at some point, he absorbed the child of Invisible Woman and the Professor, what's his name? Yeah, Dr. Richards or whatever, the stretchy guy, Fantastic Four guy. So I guess their kid is like a super telepath or super smart, something like that. So he also had those abilities for a little bit. And I don't know, not much. Like I said, not much to say. I just thought he was really cool. I think he's in a couple video games, like one of those X-Men versus Capcom games, I think. And he's like some good character in that, and or villain, I think, like at the end. So again, that's about it. So, like I said, it would be quick. Just that's why I picked him, is because he was the first time I ever ran into one of those crossover comics, and they're pretty cool, even though they're really confusing, and you have to buy a whole bunch to understand what's going on. That's where they get you.
Nice. I guess I have a quick one too. He's on the list. I just kind of forgot about him, but I should have done him sooner because he's not this high on my list. But I actually really like the villain Omega Red.
Okay.
And so, do you know Omega Red at all?
Yeah. Yep.
He's basically the Russian version of Wolverine.
Yeah.
And so, there are some really cool elements to him that make him unique. He's kind of like a mutant version of a vampire, if you didn't know that. So, the guy that is Omega Red, his name is Arkady Rosevich, and so he basically was like this soldier that was stationed in a small Siberian town, and he just goes crazy, and he just starts murdering people in this small town. And so like he gets caught, and he gets sentenced to death basically. And so he's at the firing squad, and they all start shooting him, and he survives. It doesn't kill him. He comes back to life because he has regeneration. So he after that happens, the KGB find him, and they're like, we're gonna turn him into a super soldier, basically. Just like it's basically Wolverine's story, but it's kind of funny because what they do is they put carbondium in him, and carbondium is the Russian version of adamantium.
Is adamantium the Canadian version, or is that?
They say adamantium is the American version. So
I don't even remember, but I would suspect that it was the American military that did it. Yeah.
And so, okay, so the cool thing about this carbondium is basically it's very similar to adamantium. It's not as durable or strong, but it's similar. The cool thing about it is it's extremely malleable. So and it has really high conduction, or it's able to conduct a lot of power. So what happens? Yeah. So what happens is you can see these tentacles, and there's basically tentacles all through his arms. That's why his arms are so big. And so these tentacles come out, and it's basically like Wolverine's claws, but they extend really far.
Yeah, they're like whips, basically, right?
Right, exactly. And so the cool thing about it, and why it's like a modern version or mutant version of being a vampire, is the carbondium, it's not as durable as the adamantium, but it, like I said, conducts better, and it's also poisonous. So it's slowly poisoning his body. And so Omega Red found out that he can replenish his body and not die if he wraps people up in his tentacle coil things, and he's set that, and he'll put a charge through it, and it'll drain their life force. And so it'll drain their life force into him so that poison doesn't kill him. So that's what I always thought. I always thought that was really cool, and not a lot of people know that he has to basically feed like a vampire to stay alive. So
did not know that.
Yep. It's just
Cool.
so that's just my quick one anyway.
All right. Well, I guess my favorite one here is probably, we can go on him, Magneto. You didn't pick him, did you?
Nope.
Okay, I was thinking you said something about pick some of the similar ones, and this was pretty much my last one. So, so Magneto, right? So he's like the main villain in the X-Men universe, and as you've known from the way what I've talked about, X-Men's my favorite comic. He basically didn't start out with a well-defined character. The only thing I think you can say about him was he was sort of a man driven to, well, almost craziness or whatever, but driven to the brink where he was just so upset with the government and people that they were against mutants that he wanted to take revenge on them and just destroy humans. And I have read the original comics, like about 50 of the first original ones, and they just have tons of horrible characters and villains and stuff. But it's just like Magneto, he doesn't say much in the original. It's just like really light character. But what's cool about him is the way they developed him over time. And they, in the cartoons and the movies, they do a pretty good job, I think. His story is that he was German. His father and mother, I believe, were German, and he was born in Germany. And then during the Nazi rise, they ran and went to Poland. And then when Poland was invaded, he got put into his parents and family were killed, and he got put into a concentration camp. And then eventually, I think basically because of his powers, he was able to survive and live through it. He married a woman. I believe it was a woman who also was in the concentration camps with him. And they had a baby, and I do not remember who that is. It's either lived or died. I believe it died. And then something happened. I think he got into some kind of fight or something, and his powers pretty much came to fruition and came out, and he kind of realized he was different. Like before that, he didn't really, understand what was going on. And I don't know the full details because I've never actually read this comic, but basically his wife left him because of either she didn't like what he had turned into, or he just kind of went a little insane. But she left him when she was pregnant, and she was pregnant with twins, and so those twins became now I forgot her name, but Quicksilver and Scarlet. Is it Witch? Scarlet. Is it Witch? Okay. And that's the guy that's super fast, and the Witch I think has hex power, which is makes stuff break and do stuff. It's kind of a weird power, but they also are in the early comics too. So yeah, go ahead.
Scarlet Witch is an Omega level mutant, so she's
pretty powerful.
Very one of the most powerful mutants.
Okay.
The Omega level. So
yeah, so they're basically his offspring, and I mean, what's really cool about Magneto is he's not a bad guy. He's not trying to conquer the world because he is evil. He doesn't want to kill people because he's evil. He's basically fighting for his race or his people. And so you could see why he's doing it in a way that's violent and wrong, but he also wants what should be, he wants what everybody else has, and he wants to have equality at least, and he's going about it in a violent way. And so it's basically understandable in a way. You can kind of conceive why he's this way, and so that's what makes him. I like villains who also have, I've mentioned Joker's kind of insane, so it's not along the same lines, but I do like well written out villains where you understand where they're coming from. It's not those are actually sometimes the best villains. It's not just a man who wants to conquer the world like Apocalypse. Like I said, his story is kind of lame in my opinion, but Magneto's is more understandable, and you can kind of relate in a way. And like I said, I think the movies have done pretty good job, and I don't know, I just always thought he was really cool because I don't know, he's the counterpart to the X-Men in a way, and he leads the Brotherhood of Mutants, which is a group of and basically opposite of X-Men, so they're just pretty cool too. What are your thoughts, Heath?
I like him. I was first exposed to him in the cartoon. I always thought it was really cool. In the intro to that series, Professor X does his mind thing, and he does his fist, and then they come,
Yeah, that's cool. See,
so it makes you realize he's more violent, I guess, and more, badass. But he was on my list, just so you know. But then you had him too, so.
Okay, I thought you just said he wasn't, so I was confused there. Okay, cool.
He's not on my list that I have made out, but he was on when I was thinking about stuff. So.
Okay. Yep. So Magneto, he's probably my favorite, I'd say, out of everybody that I've read so far. So, pretty much my last one. So.
My last one, as you probably know since I already said it, is Deadpool, and he isn't necessarily a villain. He's basically a mercenary, so he'll do bad if you pay him. So he's kind of one of those anti-heroes, just kind of I don't know, Magneto, I guess, or he'll be a hero, but it's not because he he wants to do it because he's right. He'll do it because he wants to, or because it's something that he wants to do. So basically, the history of Deadpool, and it relates to another hero, or of my favorite ones. If you remember, we were talking about Deathstroke.
Yeah.
They look similar, don't they?
Yeah. And they're both mercenary type dudes.
Right. So, how Deadpool came about was there were these two guys who were creating supervillains and just heroes in general for Marvel, and they said, "Man, Deathstroke is awesome. We need to have our version of a Deathstroke." And so, if you remember, Deathstroke's name is Slade Wilson. Deadpool's name is Wade Wilson.
I think you were serious. Nice.
So that's kind of where the similarities kind of disperse from there, though. But they are based upon these two creators really liking the Deathstroke character. So basically, what happened to Wade Wilson is he was in the military, and he basically was married, and he had a wife, or he was going to get married, and he found out that he was terminally ill with cancer. It was inoperable. He was going to die. And so he basically went to this home for sick people. I can't think of the word that they used. What was it? Like a hospice or something, like a hospital, but it was a house,
Okay.
But it was actually run by an insane genius kind of guy who wanted to operate on mutants and things, And so, basically, there was all these terminally ill people there, and so there was this pool of money that people would bet into, saying who was going to last the longest there without dying, and it was called the Dead Pool.
Okay.
And so that's where it comes from. Basically, what happened was they were doing Weapon X program testing, and so basically they injected this serum into his body that was based upon like Wolverine's regeneration, but it was different because it regenerate cells from like a base level, not just like going back. Like if his whole arm got blown away, it would actually reconstitute and build his arm back because it was like a regeneration that way. You know what I mean? Not necessarily like
Almost like a troll, like a
yeah, like it would come all the way back. But and so so basically they thought it was going to cure his cancer and everything too, but what happened was it accelerated his cancer.
Oh, really?
And so you'll notice in these pictures none of them have his mask off. That's
Okay.
because he has all these open wounds and kind of like eroded flesh and like boils and pock marks all over the place because the cancer started eating away his skin and it like just went crazy. And so he regenerates, but the downside is he has all these facial scars and everything all over his body. And that also, the serum made him lose his mind even more than he had to begin with. And so he constantly is in his own head. So he breaks the fourth wall. I always think it's funny because he's a comic book hero, but the character design is he thinks he's in a comic book.
Okay.
So it works out because he'll turn to the screen and he always he has these images of like cards. Oh, excuse me, I got a cough.
Oh. I didn't know much about this. I know very little, and it's like I had always seen pictures of him, and I knew his name, and I saw him in some video games, but I never knew really anything else about him. So, is he? You said he's kind of crazy or going insane. So, is he? It seemed like he was really goofy, like he did a lot of crazy, funny things. But is he? He also is insane, like a bit, like Joker almost, or
He's
it sounds like
insane,
he was able to
insane.
have some free will where he gets paid and he does what he needs to do.
Yeah, he definitely has free will, but he was always a smart ass basically.
Okay.
Even before. So that's how the name the Merc with the Mouth came up. because in the middle of a firefight, because he doesn't worry about anything because he regenerates, he'll just be poking fun at something or talking to himself or just doing whatever. He is insane. Like he's not going insane. He is insane. So, but
I see.
yeah. So, and he's obsessed with Mexican food.
It's something about tacos.
So yeah, it's just basically because of his humor in a lot of everything he does.
Sounds like he's a really unique character too. Like just because of those aspects you said, like he's not die, but he's not always good, and the humor and the third breaking the fourth wall,
fourth wall, I think.
yeah, I guess because you got the other three. Yeah, so breaking the fourth wall, and it's pretty cool. I should look more into him because I haven't really. I don't know much.
I actually have a bunch of digital comics that I haven't. So if you want to read them,
all right,
they're pretty good. He always gets into fights, not necessarily like fist fights, but like he'll show up in Spider-Man,
right,
all the time, and he'll make fun of Spider-Man for having a costume that looks similar to his, and like all kinds of stuff. There was one of the comics is there's this assassin that's trying to kill Deadpool, and basically Spider-Man says, "Okay, I'll help you." But basically what Spider-Man does is he just leaves Deadpool out there because he knows he'll regenerate, and he lets him get assassinated so he can catch the assassin. So
okay.
It's kind of crazy. So
that wasn't very well thought out though. Whoever hired that assassin.
Exactly. So, but
huh.
So,
oh?
Do you have a funny offshoot you want to talk about?
I'm done with Deadpool, but yeah, you mean go on with the next thing?
Yeah, if you want.
So I think Heath and I both just on by chance picked our worst villains, and like I said earlier, like the early X-Men that I read, there was tons of stupid guys, and I don't even remember half of them, but I picked a character that from the Marvel Universe, a villain that I thought was bad, and he showed up more than once. He's not just one of these one-off shoot guys that got tossed out. And so my pick, go ahead and put him up if you haven't already, is MODOK. And I mean, you just look at this guy. He's ridiculous looking. He's a big blob of a man with like robotic parts around him, basically a giant head with some dangling arms and legs. Just like stupidest thing in the world, like visually. And I am also a hater of acronyms. And so MODOK actually stands for mental organism designed only for killing. I found that ridiculous. I guess originally it was supposed to be for computing, and then he went crazy or took self-aware or took control and decided he wanted to kill stuff. And I don't really know much about the character. I'm not, to be fair, but I just always, every time I've seen this guy or had to fight him in a video game, I just thought he was the stupidest thing in the world. And I don't know. He first appeared in September 1967, so he's actually kind of old. That was like 7 years after, or no, 5 years after the original X-Men. So he's one of the earlier guys. Don't really have much else to say about him other than he's just ridiculous, and I don't know.
Bad character design.
Yeah, I think like in what was that game? Like, Raven Software or Raven Entertainment, whatever they are. They made that Xbox, PlayStation game where you have a team of 4 guys could go in and fight various Marvel things, and it's a good game. But I think, and but MODOK is one of the first villains you fight, and you have to answer like these riddles and stuff, and it's just like, I don't know, it's weird and stupid, and he just looks dumb. So that's MODOK.
You mean Krang?
I think Krang is much cooler than MODOK.
Yeah, it just reminds me of Krang, but.
My friend, as a side note, he and I wish I remembered which game it was because it's been some time now, but he actually worked for, is it Volition? He worked for some game company, and he actually had to do the AI for MODOK in their game. So it wasn't the one I was just mentioning. It wasn't that game, I don't believe, but it might have been the sequel or one after that. So I'm sure I'm sure he would appreciate me making fun of him. No, I actually have no idea what he feels about him, but I just thought it was funny.
It's MODOK is the best.
He's just so stupid.
Yeah.
Anyway, who is your worst pick?
My worst pick is from DC, and DC actually has a lot of terrible.
Yeah,
But
they do.
my pick is Captain Boomerang,
Yeah.
and this guy fights Flash, if you could imagine it. And his power is a boomerang, and basically there's two versions of him. It's his father, and after his father dies, his son becomes Captain Boomerang.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it. He's lame. You can actually talk to him in DC Universe, the game that came out. He basically guards armor. That's all he's good for. He's not. You don't fight him or anything. He's there guarding armor. So, yeah, I don't.
Pretty ridiculous. I don't know. He doesn't look horrible, I guess, but just kind of like.
He's Australian, so he talks with a really bad Australian accent.
Oh, boomerangs. Yeah, it makes sense.
And the character is so ridiculous, though. Like,
But you can tell he's from the old. I don't know if you knew when he came out. I don't, but you could tell from some of these pictures you put up. He's from the older,
right?
like episodes, comics.
He's probably because I don't know how you could update that to newer.
Right.
Like, but he is in a few comics.
Yeah.
When it's like a big get together of supervillains, he's there in DC Universe sometimes.
Guarding armor. Right? No, I don't know. It looks like, I mean, there's shots here that you have of modern day stuff, so obviously they keep bringing them back, but just like some of them look ridiculous, and the older ones especially.
So, but yeah, that's my terrible.
Yeah, you almost wonder if they like pulled things out of a hat. Like they're like, okay, we need a guy with boomerangs, and they're like, okay, let's design around this. Anybody got ideas? You could be a Captain Boomerang, or just like, I don't know.
I just don't know how he'd fight the Flash. Like, he's supposed to be a villain to Flash. Like, how?
Yeah, I have no idea. Because
Could you see him taking on Superman?
what's that?
Can you see him taking on Superman? Like,
I can't see him taking on anybody. Honestly, MODOK. He could take on MODOK. Pretty ridiculous, I guess. But yeah, there's plenty more we could have picked from. But here's a couple, I guess. So, is anything else?
nothing on my end. I guess next month we should have a new official podcast, hopefully out, right?
Yep, I think we're gonna be able to meet. So we'll see. Summer's kind of busy, so who knows? But we'll at least, if we can't, we'll figure out. We'll put another After Dark up or something. So. But yep. So I guess is that about it then, Eve?
That's it on this end.
All right. Well, thanks for watching.
Bye, internets.